It looks like we are live, and I'm going to say hello everyone and welcome to a terrible stream for terrible people, and one that unfortunately is possibly one of the hardest streams slash videos I've ever had to do because of an anxiety disorder and the fact that someone out there might hear this and it's not going to make them particularly happy. He knows who he is, and I want to preface before anything else, I don't think any of this is your fault. You had the same information we had. It just very much didn't work out, and that's all I say about that. Yes, we're back from the holiday, and no, it wasn't very good. It was, in my kindest observation, I want to say, and this is me being as generous as I possibly can, it was extremely disappointing. And has left me essentially just as, if not more, anxious and frankly unhappy than if I'd have not gone at all. It was wild how just everything fell well below our expectations. And I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe we had completely wild expectations. Maybe we are just morons who have no idea how a holiday works. But it doesn't really matter because we had them and they weren't met. And yeah, it's really shit. Now, to be fair, by about halfway through, we had figured out enough things for us to make the best of a bad situation. We had some moments, but it was all overwhelmingly sort of just this sense of dread and unease and upset that we'd made a mistake, that we'd done something that we shouldn't have. And it's not just about the money, even though, truth be told, it was all in, including spend and like travel. It was about £3,500. But if, like I've said before, this was the first holiday. This was the holiday that I hadn't had in 20 years. And I completely accept that more than likely that didn't fucking help. That was probably a big part of the problem was A, so inexperienced, and B, it was built up so much. As you all know, it was built up for weeks beforehand. And like I said, it's not about the money. The money is a lot, and I'm not fucking happy about it. But, you know, it was paid over a really long time span, so it didn't hurt that much to take it. But it was the time. Getting the time off, it included getting help from a bunch of people, but there was weeks basically of extra work going up to it to try and make sure that I had the time to actually take 2 weeks off, more or less. And so because of various disappointments, it really hurt. Like we would sit there and just feel bad for not having more fun. It was yeah. And we sat down and we wrote some pros and cons, and I don't know if we should share. That was expensive. It was extremely expensive, but we did it during the summer holidays, and you know, it was 9 nights, 10 days, all inclusive at allegedly a 4-star resort. I'll go into that. And just so much. I just feel so bad. I feel really bad. The person I'm preemptively saying, I don't think this is your fault. Like, I know him, and I know he'll feel gutted that we didn't have a good time. And it is what it is. But yeah, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to go through some pros and cons, and then eventually we're going to have a chat and just see what. Yeah. So we decided, like, we had a lot of cons for obvious reasons. But we need a load of pros, and we have a load of pros, a decent number. The food was pretty good. We actually, of all the things, it was kind of a highlight. And it was really good that the staff there, Mrs. Sick has a gluten intolerance. It basically does terrible things to her digestive system. It's not deadly, it's not scary, it's just awful and makes her feel like shit. We told them this, and they gave us a special card, and we basically would just flash it to a member of staff when we walked into the eating area, and they'd take her away, ask her what she wants out of all the things that don't have gluten in, including things that you just, like potatoes are often made with fucking wheat for some reason. I guess it makes them more crispy. And they pointed that out. So she felt like internally pretty good for the whole holiday. And that was awesome. And we were really happy with that. And one particular member of staff who was obsessed with the gluten-free cake for good reason, because it was lush, would always help us out. And she was great. So that was fantastic. I'm going to save that for later, but the next one for later. The beds were decently firm. I'm a person who needs a hard bed. They weren't hard, but they weren't like, you know, when you have an old person's bed and you just like sink into it about 7 miles. And none of that. That would have absolutely murdered my back. They were fine. They were definitely usable. There is a thing about entertainment that I will go into, but when that was over, it's very quiet. Good, about from 12 midnight onwards, really quiet. Can't stress enough how important that is for a decent holiday. Being able to get into your room and actually sleep, not be fucking awful noise. So that was good. Despite certain cons that will again come up, it was generally very clean. Room was also fine, although nothing spectacular. Again, 4 stars. I don't know. Again, I don't know what my expectations should be, but it didn't feel 4 stars to me. Getting a sun lounger, not impossible, because as many of you know, there are certain groups of people who love to stick towels onto sun loungers at like 2 in the morning and expect that they get to hold it all day, even if they never use it. The staff would go around picking them up and putting them in bags, and that was very fun to watch as entitled guests would angrily come along and swear they've only been away for 5 minutes when we've been sat there and not seen anyone in their chair for like 2 hours. So maybe your 5 minutes should be quicker. Yeah, we did eventually manage to get some relaxing times once we'd accepted things for what they were. Although, no, sorry, this is the pros section. Table service, another thing that we had to figure out. Kind of awesome. You have to basically ask for another drink as the staff clears your thing. It's a nice to have, except you have to be where the entertainment is happening. But this is pros. Yeah. And cocktails were a bit of a game changer. Once we finally learned about them, which took several days and a complete fluke to find out about. A big part of our problems was the simple fact that we didn't know enough. And we were presented with a bunch of information, and that's what we thought we had. And oftentimes, we just thought things were disappointing. People would tell us, like when we've explained this to a few people, and say, oh, you know, why didn't you ask? It's because we didn't know. We didn't know what we were missing out on, because no one told us what we were missing out on. You can't ask a question that you haven't conceived of yet. So, you know, I'll tell you all about where we went and all the other things when I'm done. But yeah, so we're on to the cons, and this is where the fun starts. Before we left, this is a small one, and it's mostly about miscommunication. But before we left at the airport, we were under the impression that we had a premium lounge booked, so we could sit and enjoy ourselves in relative comfort. After hunting down the lounge, like every lounge, eventually they all told us that we didn't have anything, so we phoned up the travel agency. They told us it was never booked, and we eventually found out that it was discussed on the day of booking, but it was never actually booked because they couldn't for some reason. It wasn't a huge deal, and if nothing else had gone wrong, I really would have forgotten about it. And to be frank, it didn't look great. Like, we saw inside it, and we were like, that looks not that fun. So it's kind of a, but it's not the best start. And if it had just been the only problem, then it wouldn't have really been a big deal at all. Now, some of a lot of what happened would have been fixed if the internet hadn't been dead for 4 days and then incredibly intermittent for the rest of the time we were there. This is a hotel that advertises good, fast Wi-Fi. We didn't have it for basically the duration. And it made looking things up fucking impossible. It made doing anything really frustrating. Like, we live in a day and age where to do anything you need the internet, because finding out information in other ways is extremely difficult. Yeah. It caused a bunch of little problems. Most made getting information on our own effectively impossible. Yeah. The hotel was generally very run down. Again, it was 4-star. I went down a hallway and I took 4 photos of cracks and smashes in the walls. One hallway. It was ridiculous. I was not super duper impressed. There was a big hole that went outside in one of the walls. It was wild. Now, I think it was there for a function, but it didn't look very good. The entertainment is, it's something. The entire thing, so the hotel itself is touted as family friendly. But we went there thinking and under the impression that even though it was family friendly, that solos or couples would still have a reasonably good time. Now, maybe we're just not very normy enough. We're too internet and we're too into what we like. But we found the entertainment both incredibly loud, obnoxious, and just very little to actually enjoy. Not a lot of grown-up stuff. It was very child-friendly. And that kind of sucked. Because, again, it was super loud. It was always super loud until they stopped, which just didn't suit us at all. Mrs. Sick is very sound sensitive, so it would often really, we try and sit there and have a nice time, and she'd become quite overwhelmed with just how loud it was. And we eventually figured out, and this was like 3 days before we left, that the other side of the hotel, which is ostensibly the children's side of the hotel, is dead quiet at night. Except they don't put any seating out. They don't have a bar there. They don't have anything. It looks beautiful. It's amazingly lit. But if you want to sit down and just have a drink, A, you can't get table service, and B, you have to go out there and find your own chairs, and you'll definitely not get a table, which is just so, it's a massive missed opportunity. And I understand that they probably do that because they just don't want to have a whole side of the thing. But you're a 4-star hotel. Make all the amenities available, for fuck's sake. It's your job, as far as I'm concerned. And it just seemed completely just wild that they didn't have a big quiet section. It could have even had music. Just have it on lightly. This is a big problem that we had with everywhere. Is everywhere was always blaring fucking music. It was sometimes hard to find a place to think unless you were like out in the ocean or underwater. It was, I don't know. I don't know if this is normal. Is this what people want? Are we crazy? Are we crazy people? Lifts were regularly broken. They wouldn't come to certain floors. Drove us a bit crazy, especially where we were. We were sort of off to the side. So I think that lift was not particularly well cared for. And yeah, so the finding out what we had available to us, what facilities, whatever, where things were, was surprisingly difficult, especially at the start, because the hotel was huge. And the lack of regular maps, there were these gigantic fucking numbers on walls. But, not a map. You are here. Over here is the dining hall. Here's the reception. Here's this, that, and the other. You can go shopping here. You can do this. Nothing like that. We were given this map at the very beginning, but we lost that immediately. And, yeah, it wasn't that good a map. It was sort of very vague. It looked like something you'd get in a fucking game box. It wasn't a good map. yeah, that led to a lot of frustration and a lot of just trying to figure things out and getting stressed and tired and so much walking. On the last day, I did 13,000 steps. We didn't go anywhere. We waited in the hotel to be picked up by our coach. And I did 13,000 fucking steps. That is a lot of steps. That is a lot more than I usually do. And I am still in quite a lot of pain due to it. Perhaps it was 4 stars 15 years ago. Yeah, I think so. So one of the things I talked about cocktails. We found out about cocktails through a sheer bloody fluke. Because we were told we had certain beers, a couple of wines. We weren't told about sangria, but sangria was there, and it was probably the nicest drink, even though it wasn't that nice. And eventually we thought, the drinks here are crap. We're just probably not going to bother drinking. I know that sounds crazy coming from me, but it was kind of where we were at, because the other things we had access to were local spirits. And in my experience, local spirits means fucking awful, paint thinner. I didn't even consider to try the stuff because it would always be bad. Plus, they had whiskies and it was something that I'd never heard of, and I didn't even want to try it. So I was like, it's whatever. I don't need to drink. And then I was standing there ordering a couple of sangrias because it was hot and we'd been walking and we'd come back and we wanted to sit down. And a guy picked up this fucking piece of paper that was just kind of on the bar and went, are these the all-inclusive cocktails? And I was like, bing, what the fuck did he just say? And I look at it and it says all-inclusive, not all-inclusive plus, which was this whole other level, just all-inclusive cocktails. And I'm like, what? Wait, holy fuck, do we get cocktails? And I just ordered them and they just gave them to me. And I was like, oh my God. And we only found out they were delicious. They were really nice, just very fruity. I learned I like pina coladas. I learned I like mojitos. I learned I like sex on the beach and also the drink. I wouldn't like sex on the beach. Holy fuck, no. But yeah, it just having some other random, thankfully English speaking, because like the place was full of different languages, which is fine. It's not something that bothers me. But if someone was asking for something, if they'd have been French, I'd have been fucked. I wouldn't have known they were asking about cocktails. Well, they might have said le cocktail, but whatever. It's a terrible customer experience to find out like that. And a big part of the problem was the branding was AI. Now, any of you who've existed on the internet for the past 2 years will go, yeah, that's not very good branding. Even if it means all-inclusive, it's very easy to go, what the fuck's an AI cocktail? What the fuck's an artificial intelligence cocktail? Anyway, moving on. Again, maybe in some ways I can see how that was dumb of me. But in other ways, I fully believe that is awful branding and very confusing now. And it turns out there is a cocktail menu, and it's on the bar, but you have to ask for it, and not on the bar, up behind the bar, and they hand it to you. Fucking great. Sound in places you never thought. It's all fun and games till you learn where artificial vanilla flavouring comes from. I don't care. Yeah. But yeah, so let's move on. Adult pool, pretty small, always crowded. Also, the lifeguards seemed to be completely checked out. Like every time I looked at them, they were just sort of chatting to their mates, or they were going to the there was a DJ playing obnoxiously loud music, obviously, and just not really keeping an eye on things. There were kids like basically drowning each other in the pool. And I was like, this is pretty fucking wild. But you know, it's not great. So let's move on to the local area. The local entertainment seems to be just bars, and for some reason, near endless mini golf places. Seriously, there was a place you could stand and you could see 4 of them. It was the strangest thing I've ever experienced. Who likes mini? I never saw anybody in them, so I have no idea if they just think that this is. I understand that there's a golf course kind of nearby, but these are not the same thing. People who like golf courses and people who like mini golf, not much overlap, I don't think. I don't believe, unless it's Happy Gilmore. Yeah, so drinking the night away is pretty much the only bit of entertainment that was even remotely tolerable, because there were some arcades and they were shit. There was just some other stuff and it was just mostly very shit. And there's lots of shopping, but it was the same shops with the same shit. There was so much of it was like, I get why people hate touristy things, but I'm stunned at just how meaningless it all was and how nothing, and just, I don't know. Again, maybe this is a thing I should have known, but I didn't. Nobody told me. But yet drinking the night away once or twice is something that I'd be happy to do. But I'm not actually that much of an alcoholic. I don't want to do that every single day. I want something to do that isn't mini golf, because I don't care about fucking mini golf. And the poured drinks, ridiculously strong and unmeasured, so there's no fucking standards for it. And that was something we didn't realise until I was already like 2 or 3 drinks in, and I was getting hammered without really realising it. And once I did, I was too drunk to be fucking responsible, because I'd had like half a cup of whiskey. Like, I'm a person, I have 1 or 2 shots and the rest of it is Beppis or something. I like a tall, cold drink that's pleasant to drink. These things were fucking ridiculous. I thought they tasted a bit strong. Obviously, they tasted a lot more than a bit strong. So I ended up the second day, well, after the first, we got there at night. Second day was like a day, and then we went out that night, and then we could do nothing the next day, because I was fucking screwed. I was so hungover, it was absurd. My back was killing me from A, all the walking, and B, the flying was just so uncomfortable. And the coach was so, everything is so uncomfortable. I'm a tall person, so just nothing is made for me. So it's just awful. Yeah. Right. Where we got up to. So the unmeasured strength, proper rough day. Next day was basically shot. So ultimately, if you go to this place, stick to bottles. It might sound fun to get completely fucked. If you know what's going to happen, it's probably not a problem. But if you're concerned, get bottled stuff. Also, some of the whiskey was definitely replaced with cheap, shitty local stuff, because I bought another one once I'd realised what they do, and it was gross. And every single place had ridiculously loud music, which was fine when we found some metal bars, but walking around was usually unpleasant. The one time we went out for food, it went right through me. It was nice. Mrs. Sick had a fillet steak, which she thought was really good, and the cocktails were okay, but I got about halfway back to walking to the hotel, which was another thing. This was from the beach, and my body went, yeah, it's time to shit. And I went, no, it isn't. Yeah, it is. I had to have quite a harrowing experience trying to walk back to the hotel as quickly as I could without shaking myself so much. My body went, shit time. I did manage it, but that was not fun. Air quality regularly extremely low, and while that's the weather thing, it's year round. Like, this is something that happens all the time. Mrs. Sick has asthma, so that's not good. It was sometimes not safe to go out. It was also always extremely muggy, which we were in Gran Canaria. It is a dry climate, supposedly. It is not supposed to be muggy, like, ever. It was always muggy. When we got in, I was hit by a wall of fucking hot water, and I was like, oh, is this just a nighttime thing? No, all the time, every day. The only day I thought it wasn't muggy is because the temperature was lower. It was still muggy, it just wasn't unbearably hot as well. So it made it unpleasant. And again, it's the weather thing, and I understand that, you know, the company that sells the holiday can't control the weather, but the weather is just a lie everywhere about it. It is just not what they say it is. I wanted dry heat. I paid for dry heat. I got 0. not fucking happy. Oh, we are getting there. We are nearly to the end. So this was kind of on us, but everything was too far apart to be a comfortable walking distance, but looked on maps like it was really close together. So we started off by not being able to justify taxis. We even though we spent a lot on this holiday, I mean, we had spent a lot on the holiday, so we didn't want to spend more than we had to carrying on. It turns out that every fucking road in that area is about a half a mile long. Where we currently live, like every road with a corner or an intersection is probably like a few hundred, like 100 or so meters apart. Every single one of these was hundreds of meters, and everything looked closer together, and I was in agony after 2 days of walking fucking everywhere. We again eventually figured out, oh my god, let's just take taxis. Wish we'd have known that from the start. It would have been helpful. It would have been a good piece of advice to say, hey, don't walk anywhere. It's not a good idea. Like walking to the beach, one of the things it says, the beach is a 500-meter walk away or something along those lines. And like, that sounds pretty okay. But the direction that we walk to involves essentially a fucking cliff that you walk down this. It's not a treacherous path. It's a proper path. But it's also angled. All the steps like are angled. It's not actually all that safe. It was awful to walk up, down. It was even worse to walk up the first day where I thought I was nearly going to die, and the second day where my body was desperately trying to shit myself because of food poisoning. So, yeah, not great. Kind of made the beach an area we didn't really want to go to. Yeah, and like the beach and the local area is all very big for some, which is not a problem per se, but it's also extremely run down. Like there's so much of the everything was like sun bleached, and there were cracks in tiles and roads and paint chips, and everywhere just looked really, really, really run down. It just didn't look like a holiday place. It looked like a cheap British seaside town that no one gives a fuck about. Because it kind of was. Toilet paper. Oh, right. One of the weirder things, kind of not anyone's fault, but again, something that no one ever told us. If you go to a local bar and you need the toilet, ask them, because if you go and find the toilet on your own, you will find no toilet paper because they do not provide them in local facilities. You ask behind the bar and they will give you kitchen roll, and you need to throw it in a little bin that will be beside it. This was true basically universally, apart from like more high-end things that had their own toilet. It was fucking weird. But that wasn't... I didn't feel that was a big deal. I wouldn't call that a con, just a really strange thing. But yeah, and the rundownness wasn't just like side streets. It was everywhere, including major tourist spots. It was just fucking wild, including the beach. The beach was very run down. It was nothing about it was nice. Nothing about the area was 4 stars. It just fucking wasn't. A strange one, and it's apparently quite common now, something I didn't know about, something I found very irritating, especially because the internet didn't work, so I didn't carry my phone around with me, and the whole idea of the holiday was to disconnect. No fucking clocks! Like, basically anywhere in the hotel. The only clock that I can remember was by the beach, which was way too far to be useful, and I just didn't understand it. Like, just put some clocks. They can be unobtrusive and not noticeable, but trying to figure out what time it is was super annoying, and I started having to wear my watch all the time, which I don't like wearing my watch all the time. It hurts me because I'm a big wimp. Cocktails, they're good. I was happy to find the cocktails. They made it so that we could at least have some enjoyable drinks that we'd fucking paid for, but oh my god, the amount of times they were warm with a single ice cube in them. Because what the staff would do, and I don't blame them for it, and I'm sure it's perfectly hygienic, it's just not very premium, is that they would they had this big machine to make pre-made cocktails, and they'd put jugs under it and pre-pour just huge jugs of all the things, and then just sit them on the bar, and then whenever anybody ordered them, they'd go through them. But they were out just long enough, because it was always fucking boiling hot, to get warm. So when you would order it, they'd put a single ice cube in it most of the time. Sometimes they put 3, and that was an enjoyable drink. But most of the time, you get 1 ice cube, and it was basically a warm drink that if you put the ice cube really close to your mouth, you could almost feel like you were enjoying yourself. Just get some fucking ice, people. Everyone here, we sat down and worked out the turnover of this place. Now, I don't know if that leads to profit directly, but it was a lot of fucking money. It was a lot of fucking money that goes through this place. I feel like a bit of extra ice really shouldn't be that difficult. Finally, the journey home. So, there are probably other things. To be fair, this is just what we could think of when we were having a little pissed off. Right, let's write down everything that's pissed us off. And we added a lot to it and whatever. There was probably other things, but this is the main things that stuck out. But the journey home, the flight switched terminals while we were waiting. We'd gone up to the thing, saw what it said. Right, that's where our flight dispatch is from. We're going to go there and we're going to sit there. And then we'll sit there for a while. We found out that the plane was like an hour and 5 minutes delayed, which is not great. It was very early in the morning when we ended up leaving, when we got home. We got home at like 4 or 5 in the morning. It was fucking wild. But yeah, but they changed the thing. They changed it without any way to check, because you couldn't go back out and check the boards because there was no boards on the departure side. This is incredibly fucking stupid. Like, one set of boards. Like, it's a big, long area that you can walk up and down, but one would have done. I eventually got so freaked out that I just went looking to see. I found some staff from the company that was doing our flight, and it was right next to them, but it was behind a pillar, so I couldn't see it. I checked like 3 times, and I eventually asked. Because it was very important to ask at that point. But, yeah. And I think you'll agree that that was a perfect end to a perfect holiday, 10 out of 10. Had some mids. View was okay. Not great, not bad. Cats. There were a bunch of cats at the hotel. Don't fucking ask me why. It was never advertised anywhere, which was really, it kind of weirded us out, because there are people who are terrified of cats, and they could come to this hotel and then find out that there's quite a lot of cats there. That's not great. Also, vague smell of cat urine in certain places. 4 stars. They live on the property and you can smell them. It's not great. So, yeah. We've got some lessons learned. Checking the entertainment, an absolute must. We'd rather have nothing, in the hotel at least, than what we got. The bar at night, having the same bar at night without all the quote-unquote entertainment, with some soft music, would have been a genuinely really enjoyable experience. And maybe a different section, like there needed to be a bar section that was quiet and a bar section for the entertainment. I've got no fucking problem with that. But apparently it was either you put up with what they put there, or there was no point in drinking at the hotel at night, which is not what we fucking paid for. Needing to know the right questions to ask, to understand the facilities that we have available to us. We were, like I said, we were told a few times, why didn't you ask about X? They would have helped. But they wouldn't have helped because they thought we knew what was available to us in the hospital, in the hotel, and they would have just used the same information that we had access to and not the shit that we had to figure out because it was a secret, apparently. And bear in mind, we are not super social people. Like, we like to hang out with the people that we know, but we're not very good at engaging with strangers. And we didn't want to, and we were assured that we wouldn't have to. But apparently, don't go to this place if you're not super willing to just get in other people's shit. And just ask stupid questions, apparently. Just because the provider says something is 4 stars doesn't mean it is. And don't believe what other people say about things, aka if everyone assures you that the climate is dry, check really, really hard, like in all sorts of ways, like tracking the humidity, because apparently it just cannot be true and no one fucking knows about it. Also, the weather app constantly told us that it was always clear. We had several days of cloudy skies. Completely forgot that in the cons bit. Like I said, there was other things. Yeah, this wasn't about the money. It was the cost in time off for the first time in 5 fucking years. We need to lower the cost of that time off so that when I do go on holiday, the stakes aren't so high for it to be what we wanted, that it can be just good enough to do. Because if I had a few other holidays before this one, this wouldn't have sucked so hard. But it did. Like, I'm willing to take my lumps on that. This was overblown in my own mind in that sense. But can you fucking blame me? Like, we know what a holiday is supposed to be, and I didn't need it to be perfect. Like, the accusation of, oh, well, you can't expect it to be perfect. I didn't expect it to be perfect. I expected many things to be better, and they weren't. And I just think that that is shit. So, sat here a couple of days after the fact, and frankly, I'm more anxious and upset than I had been if I hadn't gone in the first place. And while moments were somewhat relaxing, unending stress of holiday constantly failing to meet basically any of our expectations, it's kind of horrifying. Temu vacation. I wish a Temu vacation I would have had certain expectations of it. But yeah, so that's it. That's 40 fucking minutes of me banging on and on and on and on about how shit my holiday was. Notes, questions, anything you want to ask, anything you want to say, like, and feel free to tell me that I am fucking expecting way too much of the thing. Maybe I don't mind. Like, I actually kind of want to know. I kind of want to feel like I'm just an idiot. I want to feel better about it by virtue of, oh, actually, that's exactly what you should have expected, and just fucking adjust your expectations in a way that would kind of make me feel better. But I'm pretty sure that's not the case. How was it for the kids? So the kids weren't with us. The kids were at my mum's at a different beach in England, which had basically the same weather without the humidity and was essentially free. Sorry, I'm still laughing. I don't fucking blame you. It's better than what I want to do. Is Mrs. Sick going to stream tomorrow? Well, we're very tired, very exhausted. We've had a lot of sleeplessness and anxiety and just not being very happy about things. So I can only say we'll see how she feels tomorrow. Is that fair, babes? She nodded. I don't think she's feeling very talkative at the moment. I am endlessly talkative. But you may be crazy, but not because of anything you described. I feel that I want to be wrong, frankly. And you complained about Florida. I've never complained about Florida. I've never been to... Oh, wait, she might have complained about Florida. But, yeah. Which travel agency should we avoid? So it wasn't the travel agency. It was the provider. The travel agency just kind of sells you the thing, and they have to go with what the provider tells them. But the thing is, the group that sold it, one of the good things, here's a pro that I didn't mention. Who it was that sold the holiday its very self, that organized it, was Jet2. One of the things about them, as a nervous flyer, a nervous holidayer who has never done this, they are actually fantastic for having people available at all times, all through the steps of trying to get from where you are to your holiday destination, there was almost always someone available, and that was pretty good. They were also really obnoxious, like the bus travel from the airport to the hotel had these big fucking advertisements saying, "Oh, you want to do your next Jet2 holiday?" Blah, 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 blah. Very loud, very irritating, but worth it for how at ease we were in that regards. Shit, hit enter too early. Your rant is entirely valid, though. Thank you. Yeah, so, I mean, ultimately, even if I was completely wrong, that wouldn't change the fact that I'm not happy about it. And that is always going to be the bummer of it. It was just, yeah. You can't help it. Honestly, I've been so anxious all day about doing this stream. And I don't know if it's doing the stream or just having the first opportunity to sit here and tell someone how I felt. And, like, you're a primed audience. You're people who like me. Very few of you are going to tell me that I'm a jumped up little entitled shit that should expect less for their money. But I also feel that if I was acting like that, you might actually tell me. Someone said, I hate holidays. I don't yet hate holidays, but I can see, like, I understand now that a holiday can be as stressful as the thing it's trying to get you away from. The mirror will tell you, oh, that guy fucking hates me. At least you're not in toilet. Live and learn. Yeah, so that's like the big sort of, I don't want to call it a silver lining, but the big, what we are going to do with this is have it as the lessons learned. Have it as, so now we know. Now we have information that just isn't really available to know what to expect, what not to expect, what to ask for, what to have as a deal breaker. Like, one of the things we were offered when we initially were booking was an adults only hotel, but it was going to be £600 to £800 more, which, considering that this was something that was a huge amount of money already, and I was just like, I had a limit, and it was well above that. I was like, do we need that? And I was like, well, you know, it depends. You know, if you enjoy the entertainment at the place, then it doesn't really matter. And, you know, like, there were kids around, and I didn't bring those up as a con because they were fine. Like, kids trying to drown each other was interesting, and they would run up on the stage and stuff like that, but I didn't fucking care. I don't mind kids existing near me, but it would have been better if they hadn't been there. And I do think that because of their presence, that affects the kind of entertainment you can have. I'll say some of the good entertainment. There was a violinist who, he played to sort of midis of famous popular songs, but it was kind of nice to hear live music, more or less. And then there was a sort of Cirque du Soleil thing. I think these were the same day, actually. So that might have been the best evening, because that was actually genuinely quite fun to watch. And, like, good, solid, interesting entertainment. Too fucking stressful. Why do we have to get away to recharge? I can do that with a beer or whiskey and spending time at home with the wife. Well, that is the thing, isn't it? We start, sort of, some of the takeaways we've had is that we haven't really, me and Mrs. Sick haven't had enough time to sort of enjoy each other's company, to spend a lot of time together. We spent basically the whole time in each other's pockets, and that was fine. You know, when we were getting stressed out, sometimes we'd get upset sort of at each other, but not really with each other. We were just kind of upset, but you know, we helped each other through that, and that was good. But we've realised that we kind of just haven't had weekends for a really long time, so we're gonna work on rectifying that and doing things together as a couple or as a family with the kids, and just hope that we can take the lessons learned, to hope that the things that we end up doing that we hadn't really thought of until we had really long time to really talk things out, because we did a lot of talking. We had long drawn out conversations, the likes of which we haven't had in probably a decade since the kids were born, because it's just, you just don't have any time. It's the first time we had any, like that. That's a good thing. It was time to talk to each other, but you know, I walked 70,000 steps in 4 days in Berlin. Felt it afterwards, but it was worth it. Don't think I'd be able to eat a kebab in the UK anymore, since the German ones are far better. I can imagine that. But yeah, what are we talking about rectums for? Yeah, so like I said, we're hoping to take the best we can from it, make the best of a bad situation, which is the lyric in a Devil Driver song that was playing over and over and over in my head. Yeah, played a lot of Red Dead. That was fun. Red Dead Redemption 1. Been always meaning to play that. The goat of the holiday might have been bringing my Steam Deck with a dock, because it meant that I could play Vimeo James and get Mrs. Sick to sleep, which was still very important while we were there. No, I'd say the goat was the food. The food in the hotel. Lots of people complain about it online. We thought it was great. We actually genuinely really enjoyed it. It wasn't fucking mind-blowing, but the amount of people that we would see just picking up chips and a bit of meat, and there was so much fucking variety. It was pretty good, and we never got sick from people being gross about it. So it was a tight ship. So, you know, that's something that we would definitely say. You sound like you need a holiday after your holiday. Not fucking gonna lie, I feel like it. I've worked today for the first time, because basically I had 2 weeks and 2 days off, more or less. So the starting weekend, I say that, but the 4 days running up to actually going was non-stop fucking work. So that doesn't really count. You might be able to hear it in my voice, but I mean, the fact is I've been talking non-stop for this time, and I did it just before to record a video. I don't know how I feel like trying to find a video today. That caused me endless stress, but I was also thinking about the stream. I was thinking about talking to certain people and figuring out what I'm going to say to them, and I'm hoping that tomorrow will feel better. But writing was pretty good, and recording was more fun than it's been in a while. Just more pleasant and visceral to talk like that again, the way that I do. So yeah, so the hotel, the place we were in Gran Canaria, but specifically the surrounding area was Playa del Ingles. That was the very rundown place. I don't know if others are better. We didn't visit them because we couldn't. Oh, that's another thing. The feeling of being stuck also doesn't help with anxiety. Like, when you go on holiday in the country that you live in, at least you're not worried that you'll be trapped there. Not the same. But yeah, Playa del Ingles, this hotel we stayed in was the Abora Buenaventuras. And it looks stunning from the outside, and it has this huge mosaic mural on the side of the building. It looks very impressive, but upon closer inspection, it leaves a lot to be desired. Yeah, I guess I should thank the two guests I had during my time there, Professor Plink and the Skeptic. If you want to help me out and want to help them out, especially, unfortunately, for the Skeptic's video, I don't know why. I don't know. It was probably just how I titled it and everything, but it was the worst performing video I've had in years. Now, sometimes that's because people don't want to click on guest videos, and it kind of makes sense. But it was unfortunate. Professor Plink's video did fucking amazingly, and good for him. I hope that got him lots of views. But for skeptics, go and check it out. It's a good video. It's very fun. It fits right in on the channel. He did an excellent job. He helped me out. If you haven't, go and subscribe to him. He deserves it. So does Plink. And I do have one more guest video and a potential other one more, because I would have missed work on 4 whole videos. So that's covered that. The other one, we'll leave that as a surprise. It won't come out super duper soon, but it will come out eventually. And hopefully you enjoy that. Hopefully it does what it does. But yeah, I never even saw the skeptic video pop up. I think that's one of the things that happened, that it just didn't get pushed around for some reason. It was very frustrating, actually, because that was the second video that went up. So the day we traveled out, my video went up. So I put up 2 videos, and each on the Wednesday. And the Wednesday video did fine. It was mid, like in terms of performance, but it didn't bomb, and that's what I was worried about. And then the skeptic one, for some fucking reason, completely bombed. And that really hit hard, because one of the things is like I had to keep an eye on my channel, and whenever I have a really, really badly performing video, it really hits me hard. So, not gonna lie, that definitely didn't help, but we were already not super chuffed with things and how they were going on at the time. Thankfully, the second Wednesday video did fine, and Professor Plink's video has done great. So, coming out of the holiday, that sort of helped the vibe. So again, there's things that aren't the fault of the holiday, but things that should try and find ways of mitigating them. Perhaps having someone manage the channel while I'm away. Not that there's anyone that I could really, I don't want to say trust, but just like know that they do a good job. Subscribe to both guests. Good job. Never got the skeptic notification, so not seen it. Yeah, I don't think it gave out the fucking notification. I think they kind of fucked me on that, and they kind of fucked him on that, which is more disappointing than anything else. But yeah, they're both good. And yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. It was... Oh, I have some anecdotes. That'd be fun for a minute. We did, like, things trying to make the best of it. So we started keeping, like, an anecdote journal. There's more of these, and maybe I'll turn them into a video. I don't know. But Pizza Pan, saw that as a restaurant. I wrote a joke about it because it made me laugh. You get an empty box with imagination written on the inside. I think that's pretty good. We met a man named after a town that he's never been to, but he was actually from Brazil, and a higher plane of consciousness. We know this because a guy he liked on the internet told him that other people only repeat things that they've heard, but not him. He only repeats what he's heard from this one guy. I basically met someone that I would debunk in real life. It was fucking weird. Yeah. Desperately trying to find the snack bar. It was closed 30 minutes on that first night because we came in really late. Asked for the snack bar to a random man. Eventually shouted "Manger," the French for eat, as he tried to climb into an elevator at the obviously Spanish man. I was stressed. Leave me alone. It worked, and suddenly he knew what I meant. Europe is amazing, which technically we weren't in. With the heat draining every drip of liquid from my body via sweat, shut the fuck up. Eventually heard a random person speak one goddamn understandable word, tackled them metaphorically so I could find the frigging drinks machines that were open all night, and for shame did not consume any alcohol. I just had as much Pepsi Max as my body could hold. Hashtag not sponsored. Fucking obviously. This same night, a cockroach flew into Mrs. Sick. Not into her, but like crashed at her. Yeah, I've got the Irish kid whack-a-mole. That was the fun thing, the game. Oh yeah, when we went out getting pissed, Mrs. Sick endlessly asked me for cigarettes, and I could tell that I wasn't drunk because I kept saying no. You can always tell I'm drunk when I give Mrs. Sick the right act. Tried to find a bar first night, ended up finding nothing but pain and fear of random dipshit youths. Thank God I'm the size of a particularly sexy house. Finally found a good rock bar with nobody in it apart from darts crazy locals and a barmaid who made the best goddamn drinks we'd had on that whole holiday. Like, the infinite cocktails were nice, these were delicious. The whiskey shots were the sides of my fucking helmet. I had paid for it. Storm rolled in on the second day, which was fine. I was hung the fuck over. Didn't want to do anything. It started in the afternoon out of nowhere, causing a wave of hapless tourists to scream in unison. That was beautiful. And then we had bands and all that. And yeah, that's it. That's everything. So, thank you to everybody who said, "Oh, I hope you have a really good holiday, Sick." You jinxed it. No, I'm really. That's part of why I was so fucking bummed to have to tell you this, because everyone's loads of people were really excited for me, and it just turned out to be kind of shit, and that's not what you wanted. That's not what any of you wanted to hear. I know you wanted me to come back and say I had the best fucking time. I got an amazing tan. I couldn't tan to save my fucking life. Sat there in the direct sun for fucking hours, and I had suntan lotion on, and I still fucking burnt. It was so ridiculous. I've never burnt before. I think it's because I was so pale at the time. I have at least sun-kissed. I look like a person now, instead of just an apparition. But, yeah. It's not what you wanted to hear. It's not what I wanted to hear, surprisingly enough. Hopefully, if we do it again, it'll be a thing. Oh, Christ, I didn't even tell you about the security situation. I'm not even going to go into it. But, yeah. I'm going to go now, because I have still lots of work to finish. And then beddy. Because I am fucking knackered still. Yeah. Okay, thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next one. See you in the next video. And catch you next time. Bye.